Hi, it's Dennis Daly. Nice to have you along on All Week Theater, where we take a classic radio episode and play it out over 5 days. Now, CBS's You Are There goes back to the Salem Witch Trials for the final part, Part 5.
The jury has risen now and is filing out of this courtroom to consider the verdict. The judges are leaving too, and Deputy Marshal Herrick is taking Rebecca Norse from the courtroom. Some of the spectators are leaving for a breath of fresh air. The jury is out of the courtroom now. Of course, there's no possible way of knowing how long they will be. They may return momentarily, and if they do, we will switch back here to the courtroom immediately. Meantime, there are about 150 other suspects, as we told you, who have been rounded up in this drive and who are now in nearby jails waiting to be tried by this same court. My colleagues Harry Marble and Ken Roberts are at this moment in two of those prisons, Boston and Ipswich, with CBS microphones, and we switch you first to Harry Marble in Boston Prison.
This is Harry Marble in Boston Prison. I'm standing in a room about 25 by 35 and 7 feet high. The walls are of stone and the windows are barred. Leaning against the walls and chained to the benches here are about 25 or 30 men who are waiting to be tried for witchcraft. Right beside me, his hands manacled, is Navy Captain John Alden. Captain Alden, what are the specific charges against you?
Witchcraft, I presume.
You have to pay your own room and board while you're in prison, don't you, Captain?
Yes. And should I have the misfortune to be found guilty, my family would have to pay the cost of my execution. And, of course, my property would immediately be confiscated by the authorities. The deputy governor, I imagine.
I am told that some of your fellow prisoners confessed to practicing witchcraft, Captain.
I will tell you how one confessed. A boy of about 18. They had him tied neck and heels until blood flowed from his mouth and nose. He confessed.
One more question, Captain Alden. Are you by any chance related to the John Alden who married Priscilla Mullen?
That was my father, sir. My parents met on the Mayflower coming over from the other side.
Thank you, Captain John Alden. This is Harry Marble in Boston Prison. I now switch you to Ken Roberts in Ipswich Jail.
This is Ken Roberts in Ipswich. The jail here is crowded with women of all ages. Beside me here is the prisoner, Dorcas Good, accused witch. How old are you, Dorcas?
I'm 4 years old.
4-year-old Dorcas Good was arrested the same day as Rebecca Norse.
I'm 4, going on 5.
Dorcas just corrected her age. She is 4, going on 5. Why are you here, Dorcas?
I want a piece of bread with honey.
Do you know why they put you here, Dorcas?
My name is Dorcas Good, and I'm 4 years old, going on 5.
Chained beside 4-year-old Dorcas here is Mrs. Rebecca Jacobs of Salem Town. Why have they put you in prison, Mrs. Jacobs?
They ran in the street. They ran in the street, and I said, look at the children. They're running in the street.
Mrs. Jacobs.
Then the men said, these are your children. They're running after you. Tell them to go back.
Your children saw you arrested, Mrs. Jacobs?
Come home, Mother. Mother, come home. I want my children. I want my children. I want my mother.
Do you get enough to eat here, Mrs. Jacobs?
Children, don't cry. Mother will be home. The night men are just taking your mother for a walk.
Mrs. Jacobs, have your children been allowed to visit you?
Bloodroot and windflowers, sweet Mary and lilacs, they grow in my garden. When night comes, they close their eyes and go to sleep. I want my children. I want my baby.
I want a slice of bread and honey.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Jacobs, but a message has just been handed to me. The jury trying Rebecca North has just come back into the courtroom. So this is Ken Roberts returning you to John Daly in Salem.
This is John Daly in the Salem courtroom. The jury has come back. The jury charged with the fate of Rebecca Norse has just returned. The judges are in their places. The prisoner, her hands still manacled, stands facing the bar. The spectators are silent, waiting. The jurymen have taken their seats, all except Thomas Fisk, the foreman. The foreman is standing, and now Judge Stoughton turns to the jury.
Have you reached a verdict?
We have.
What have you found?
We find the defendant not guilty.
Not Guilty. The jury has found Rebecca North not guilty. She looks stunned and stands bewildered and confused, pale and shaken. Her husband is fighting his way up to her. 72-year-old Francis North is crying, and his wife, Rebecca North, is now in his arms. Rebecca North, her gray head sunk on his shoulder, is crying for the first time since this trial began. Her sons and daughters are kissing and hugging her. They're all trying to touch her. They're patting her face, her hair, her dress, and they're laughing, and at the same time, tears are streaming down their cheeks.
Salem, June 29, 1692. And the witch hunt goes on.
CBS is There is produced and directed for Columbia by Robert Louis Cheon. The Salem Witch Trial was written by Sylvia Berger.
Interesting to hear real CBS correspondents pretending to be at an event in the past. And on some of those shows, it was Walter Cronkite. So join me next time when I take a classic old-time radio episode and split it up into 5 easy-to-digest pieces, right here on All Week Theater.